All right, let's talk about math. If that word alone makes you a little nervous when you think about trading, hey, you are definitely not alone. But what if I told you the answer isn't to get more complex? What if it's actually to slow down and just simplify how we think about it all? Today, we're going to reframe math, not as some big, scary academic monster, but as what it really is, a practical, essential tool. It's all about using the right kind of math, simply and effectively. Okay? Let's get into it.
This quote it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? The thing is, you're already using math every single day. I mean, every time you calculate your risk or read a chart, or even just glance at your P&L, that's math. The confusion, that feeling of being a bit lost, it usually comes from not really understanding what its purpose is, Its basic architecture. So that's what we're going to fix. We're going to slow it all down and go right back to the very beginning.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to bust a huge myth right from the start. This idea that math was born in some dusty university classroom, it's completely backward. The real story is way more practical and, honestly, a lot more relevant to what you and I do as traders.
And this is the whole point. Seriously, let's just slow down and think about this for a second. Before we had fancy formulas, before we even had writing, we had urgent, real-world problems that needed solving. Stuff like, how many animals do I have in my herd? How much land do I actually own? When are the seasons going to change? These weren't some abstract academic questions, right? They were literally questions of survival.
So, this was basically what you could call primitive mathematics. And its real power was in being simple and, well, slow. It wasn't about finding some beautiful, elegant proof. Nope. It was about putting a number on reality so you could make a better decision. At its core, math started as a tool to reduce uncertainty about the world, which, when you really stop and think about it, sounds an awful lot like trading, doesn't it?
So the big question is, how did we get from just counting sheep all the way to calculating something like market momentum? Well, it was a slow, gradual evolution. It's really the story of us, of humanity, developing more and more sophisticated tools to solve ever more complex problems. So let's walk through that journey real quick.
What's really fascinating when you look at it this way is just how slowly and logically it all unfolded. I mean, each phase just naturally builds on the one that came before it. We start with basic survival. That leads to reasoning, and then it becomes a formal discipline. But here's the key for us as traders. The really big game changers, the stuff that really matters to us, that all happened much, much later, around the 1600s and 1800s.
Now, this was a huge deal, a really major leap. It meant that math was no longer something you just used, it was now something you studied. People started digging into the underlying logic, the structure of it all, and that laid the foundation for everything that came later. But still, it was very grounded in practical stuff, like geometry for building things and arithmetic for trade.
Okay, this is it. This is where it all clicks into place for us as traders. With the invention of calculus and probability theory, suddenly we had the tools to describe systems that weren't just standing still. And what are markets? They are systems of constant motion and deep, deep uncertainty. The very words we use every single day, momentum, volatility, probability, that language was born right here during this revolution.
All right, so after that quick march through history, how do we actually zero in on what really matters for us? Well, it turns out this whole huge world of math can basically be split into two fundamental paths. And I'm telling you, understanding this split is the absolute key to simplifying everything. This is probably the most important step you can take to use math effectively as a trader.
So on one side, you've got pure mathematics. Think of this as, math for the sake of math. It's all about pure discovery. It's driven by curiosity, exploring these really abstract truths and finding a kind of logical beauty. The goal isn't to be useful right away. It's just about pure, deep understanding.
And then on the complete other side, you have applied mathematics. This is math as a tool, a hammer. Its entire purpose is to be used in the real world to solve a real problem, to predict something, to optimize a process, to manage risk. Its value isn't in how beautiful it is, but in how effective it is. The only question that matters is, does it work?
Yeah, this table just lays it all out perfectly. Look, the pure mathematician is asking, is my proof logically perfect? But the applied mathematician, and that includes you, the trader, is asking a much, much simpler question. Does this thing actually work? See the difference? One side is chasing universal truth. The other side is chasing immediate usefulness. As a trader, your entire world, your entire focus, needs to be right there in that right-hand column. Period.
Okay, so we've established our home base. It's applied mathematics. And now for the best part. This is where we really get to keep it simple. You do not need to learn all of it, not even close. You just need a very specific, very focused toolkit of branches that directly solve the actual problems you face when trading.
And here it is. This is your toolkit. Seriously, think of this as your cheat sheet. You need basic arithmetic, that's for your P&L, your returns. You need probability for modeling uncertainty and outcomes. You need statistics for analyzing data and building indicators. You need a basic idea of calculus, just to understand things like rate of change and momentum. And you need optimization for tuning your strategies. That's it, that's the whole list. We just took the entire universe of math and boiled it down to these 5 key areas. This is your playground.
Okay, let's bring this all home. Why does any of this matter? Why does this simple distinction between pure and applied math actually affect your bottom line? Well, because it connects directly to the very real problems you face in the market every single day.
I mean, just look at this list. Trading is data-driven, it's uncertain, it's time-dependent, and it's capital-constrained. Does any of that sound familiar? I bet it does. You're trying to navigate this massive sea of data, dealing with constant uncertainty. You're under intense time pressure, and you've got limited capital. These are not some abstract puzzles, right? This is your daily reality.
Exactly. The very nature of these problems demands practical, applied thinking. You need tools that work for real-world messes, not abstract proofs for a perfect world. Look, trying to solve trading challenges with the mindset of a pure mathematician, it's like trying to build a house with a poem. It might be beautiful, it might be profound, but you're not going to get a roof over your head. You need the right tools for the job.
And this, right here, this is it. This is the single most important takeaway from this whole explainer. If you remember one thing, let it be this. When you start to see trading through this lens as an applied math problem that happens under uncertainty, everything changes. You stop being just a button pusher and you become an active problem solver. Your job isn't to find some perfect universal truth in the market. It's to find simple, workable solutions that just give you an edge.
So let's just end with this final thought. It's time for all of us to stop asking, am I a math person? Honestly, that was never the right question to begin with. The real question, the crucial one, the one that actually matters is this: am I using the right math? Are you focusing your energy on the simple, practical, applied tools that help you solve the real problems you face every single day? Because at the end of the day, that is the only math that really counts.